Good morning. How's everybody doing? Before I begin, I'm going to mention our sponsor, Ratchet Clothing. By now, everyone knows Ratchet's a clothing company out of the UK. They have clothing for men, women, and children. I'm going to put a link down below. Go on their site and check them out. So today I'm going to be speaking about a crazy story that happened. Bear with me, there's a lot involved. So I'll start from the beginning. So this story has to do with a couple of guys, one of them being Joey Cupcakes Urgitano. Joey is the son of somebody called Angelo Cheesecake. I know the names are going to be funny, but Angelo was his father. Angelo is now deceased. He was a member of the Lucchese family. So Joey Cupcakes, Mikey Grock, who you all know, Louis, good-looking Louis Navarro, all got arrested in the meatpacking district in Manhattan for an assault. So they caught a case. After the case, Joey obviously had to go away because he was in Rikers Island on a violation from the case. And he started bad-mouthing good-looking Louis and Mikey Grock. That was his thing. He started bad-mouthing them, and he didn't like that they weren't running up there to see him like as much as he wanted to. So at one point, I decided to go up there and try and straighten it out, also to visit him. I went up to Rikers Island. It was a whole day affair waiting to get in. Now I know how it feels like to be on the other side of that equation. And I went up, we had a visit. During the visit, Joey Cupcakes bad-mouthed Mikey Grock and bad-mouthed good-looking Lou. I defended them and told them that they were busy out there and it was nothing personal, that they wasn't coming up. Plus they were listening to their lawyers who were telling them not to come up. And not only did he badmouth them, he badmouthed the whole entire Lucchese family. He badmouthed the Brooklyn crew, and to be honest with you, looking back on it now, he was kind of right about that. He had told me, be careful with that Brooklyn crew, they're all scumbags, they kill their own friends. He was right about that. So I had my visit with Joey, I left the visit, and that was that. I tried to make peace between all these guys, and I felt that I did that day. Unbeknown to me, that wasn't the case. What happens is that Joey was on the verge of getting out. He was doing a violation. So at this time, it was the summertime, I had met Mikey Grock, his wife, and some of his friends at the beach in Far Rockaway. At that beach, we wind up taking a picture together. That picture Mikey must have sent to somebody. I know who it is. I'm not going to mention him. And that guy sent the picture to Cupcakes. Now, Cupcakes came out. So it was like the beginning of a week, 1 week, and I get a telephone call, and it's this Cupcakes. He wanted me to set up a meeting between himself, good-looking Louis, and when he went to go mention Mikey Grock, he turns around and says, and your beach buddy. So it took me a second to realize what he meant, and now I put two and two together that somebody sent that picture. I got nothing to hide. So I said to him, excuse me, did you say beach buddy? And he like kind of giggled a little bit, and he says, yeah, your beach buddy. I says, Joe, let me tell you something. You may have a problem with Mikey. I don't have a problem with Mikey, and I can go to the beach and take pictures with anybody that I want. So he didn't say nothing. I says, but no problem. Tell me when you want this meeting. So he said that he wanted to hold the meeting in this restaurant pizzeria called Villa Barone. I didn't know the place, and it was in the Bronx, and he wanted to do it that Friday at 1 o'clock. So after the call, I sat back and thought about it a little bit. I didn't understand why he wanted me to be there, and I couldn't make sense of it, but I knew that he still had a problem with Mikey and Lou. Why didn't he just go and meet them himself? This didn't sound right to me. I called up Mikey Grock. I explained it to him. So Mikey Grock said, I don't want to go. I said, listen, my advice to you is don't go. And I want you to tell Lou, don't go. So he says, well, are you going to go? Absolutely, I'm going. He wanted me to come there. I don't know what's on his mind, but I'm definitely going. What's important to note, at this time, I was not a member of the Lucchese family. I was an associate to Big John's crew. Big John was on vacation during this time. I was in Staten Island. I ran into his brother Bubsy. And I went through this whole story with him. He never volunteered to go with me. The only thing he said is, go take a little Joey, and he meant the little Joey de Benedetto. He says, don't go to the Bronx. They're a bunch of scumbags. Don't trust these guys. So here you are, you have guys from the Bronx calling them scumbags. You have guys from Staten Island or the Brooklyn crew calling the Bronx scumbags. That's just the way the life was. I eventually did talk to little Joey DiBenedetto. I told him the whole story. He did volunteer to come with me, and I told him I wanted to go by myself. I think he understood why. I didn't want to act like I needed someone to come with me or that I was worried about something, because I wasn't worried. So this is where the story gets a little crazy. Anyone who knows Joey Cupcakes, as you could see from the pictures, when you talk to this guy, it almost sounded like he was making a movie, or there was a movie camera going and he was like playing a part. So I pull up to this Villa Barone. I didn't know where it was. I had to Google it, how to get there. And it was like a pizzeria with a restaurant on the side. I park the car and I go over to the place, and I'm looking in the pizzeria and I don't see anybody. I walk around the side of the place and I'm like looking in the window of the restaurant, and it's all dark in there. I don't see anybody. So I go to walk away, and there's a car come pulling up, and he opens up the window and he says, "Oh, go in that door right there." So I'm looking, who the fuck are you? So he says, "Oh, well, you're here to meet somebody, right?" I says, "Yeah, who are you?" So he says, "Well, are you here to meet Joey?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, they're waiting for you. They're in that door." I said, "Okay." I'm saying they're waiting for me. So I go walk into the door. I open up the door. I go in the place, and I keep walking. And there's a door in the back. There's like two doors. And as I'm passing a room to my left, I don't know if it was a kitchen or a closet, I don't know what it is, I seen all the staff huddled in there, like, it just was strange. Like, I was saying to myself, what is the staff all doing in that room? They're not walking around the restaurant getting ready to open or whatever's going on there. So I open up one of the doors and I walk in, and the first thing I see is a table to my left and about 4 or 5 guys sitting there, and one of them is this Cupcakes. So I walk in, but as I'm walking over, I hear a click on the back door that I just came into. So whoever it was that was out there was told, lock the door. So now I'm locked in this fucking room. So I walk over to his table. I don't know anyone except Cupcakes. He's sitting there. He has a shit-eating grin on his face. So as I get to the table, I'm standing up, and I could see Cupcakes and the guy sitting next to him. Guy looked like he came out of The Sopranos, and he had like a big chain on with a big cross. He's got a watch and a pinky ring. But what I can see from my position of standing and they're sitting down is that they're sitting back from the table, and they both got pistols on them. So Cupcakes turns around and says, "Where's your buddies?" So I said, "Hey, Joe, let me explain something to you." He said, "Well, have a seat." So now I sit down, and there's 2 guys and 1 guy sitting next to me, and I start explaining the story. I said, "Listen, Joe, I gave them the message. It's their responsibility to show up here or not, but I'm responsible for myself, and that's why I'm here right now. So I don't know what I'm doing here. Why don't you tell me what I'm doing here?" So they were all looking at me. And he starts to go into a lot of the things that he discussed on Rikers Island about Mikey Grock. And he's like bad-mouthing Mikey Grock. One of his issues was that while these guys were out on bail, Mikey Grock caught a DWI, and he found out about it. So in his eyes, he was calling Mikey Grock a rat by saying, "How is Mikey Grock out on a second bail?" So I had something up my sleeve for him about that. While he's telling me the story, I stop him. I said to him, "Joe, let me explain something to you. You know my friend in Staten Island." Now, he knows I'm talking about Big John. I said, he explained to me that when he had his case, he was out on several bails, all at the same time. So are you insinuating that he's a rat and he's no good too? He said, "Well, I'm not saying that." Now, this guy with this Tony Soprano with the cross speaks up. So he turns around and he tells this guy, Joey, he says, "Listen, I don't think we need to say anything more to this fella. I think he told us all he had to tell us. He's obviously not involved in this, Joe. The guys we need to talk to is this Mikey and this Lou." So at that point, Cupcakes jumps up, and he comes over and he gives me a hug and a kiss, and he says, "This has nothing to do with you. These 2 guys are fucking scumbags." I said, "Joe, I disagree with you." So he starts walking over, and this is the crazy part. He starts walking over to a table, like one of those folding tables. And I follow him. I'm talking to him, and I'm looking at the table, and this fucking guy, talking about movies, I couldn't believe what I seen. He's got a roll of plastic, a bunch of knives like he's gonna butcher a fucking deer on the table. And I'm shaking my fucking head saying, what the fuck is this? Like, what were you gonna do? Were you gonna kill guys and chop them up in this fucking place? So I don't know what was on his mind had Mikey and good looking Louie come that day. That's why I told them not to come, but I just shook my head at him. I stood a little while longer, and then we left. So one of the things that was very important to the story that I left out was that on the day that I was going to go to the Bronx to meet this guy, I met up with Anthony Guzzo on Long Island, and he was with his wife at the time. So when I pulled up, we took a little walk away from the cars, and I said to him, Anthony, what the fuck, because he was very good friends with this Cupcakes. I said, what the fuck is on this guy's mind? So I don't know, I don't like it. He says, I wish I could go with you, but I got something to do. He could have went with me. I would have went with him. I knew Anthony was very good friends with this Cupcake, so I told him, Anthony, what's on this fucking guy's mind? So he says, I don't know, I don't like it, I don't know what he's calling you there for. I said, listen, Anthony, and usually, sometimes he had a pistol. I says, you got a pistol on you? He said, no, I didn't bring anything. I said, all right. I said, because I'm not going without something on me. And another important fact that I didn't say was that while this Cupcakes and me were talking, the guy that was sitting to my left kept moving closer and closer to me. So I brought a knife with me and I had it in my waistband. And I noticed that he kept inching his chair up and like moving his chair a little closer to me. And I finally catch it and I'm looking at him and he's just looking at me. And I said, what is this guy trying to get close to me to grab me? You have to understand my mindset. This is back then. I'm in a locked room. I got guys with pistols. I don't know what's on their mind. I'm thinking the worst. And I got a guy inching closer to me. So I put my hand under the table and I get my hand on the knife. And I say to myself, if this guy moves one more time closer to me, I'm going to fucking stab him in his eye. And I know I was going to die that day because they would have shot me, but I just felt that he was going to grab me. And thank God he didn't. I come to find out later on from Mikey Grock, because he knew who it was, that the guy got a fucking hearing problem. He says, no, that guy got a hearing problem. He says, he's deaf in one ear. I said, oh my God. So just to show you how things could go terribly wrong. So anyway, Anthony Guzzo never came with me. He's another guy that should have came. The only guy that offered to come with me was Joey DiBenedetto, and I didn't want him to do that. So back to that day, we all are leaving that restaurant at the same time. Before I leave, the guy that I called Tony Soprano comes over to me and he says, John, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Dominic Pilati. Now, at that time, I didn't know who Dominic Pilati was, but I had heard about Dominic because he had done a lot of time in state prison, and I knew guys that were away with him. But I didn't know that he was a friend. I come to find that out later from Blaze Carrazzo, who tells me that this guy Dominic is a friend with them, which means he's with the Gambino family. So we're all walking out of the restaurant together, and we go into the parking lot, and we're walking to our cars, and this Cupcake turns around and says, I'm going to go look for this Mikey Grock. It's Friday. I know he hangs out at the Parkside. Now, the Parkside is Tough Tony's restaurant, and we know that from my other videos. And this Cupcakes turns around and says, and fuck Tough Tony too. He wants to walk around with a chef's fucking jacket like he's fooling somebody, meaning that Tony's wearing the jacket and to fool people that he's not a friend in the life. And I laughed to myself and said, Tough Tony in his sleep has more fucking brains about that life than this fucking Cupcakes has walking around wide awake. Then he turns around and says, and if Tony gets involved in this, we'll wreck his whole fucking restaurant. Now, let me just say for the record that I knew then, as I said, all right, goodbye, Joe, and take care, nice meeting you guys, and I got back in my car and I left, that he would do no such thing. He wouldn't even break a fucking glass in that restaurant and get away with it. And by the way, he never went to the Parkside. So I guess Dominic Pilati knew better than to do that. So at the end of the story is that he wound up making up with both Lou and Mikey Grock, and nothing ever became of it. So it was this whole shit show for no fucking reason. I don't know what was on his mind that day, or what he was trying to prove, or if he thought he was going to scare somebody. Was I nervous? While I was in there, absolutely, because I didn't know what was going to happen. But I wasn't scared, and I think he knew that. And it just was a bad situation, and it was a crazy day. And I was told after that, don't ever go to a meeting by yourself ever again. And that's very good advice. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I know it was a crazy one, a lot of moving parts. I want to thank everyone for subscribing. Again, if you want to subscribe to this channel, you could do so down below. I thank everyone who's been subscribing to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast. I'll put a link for that down below as well. And if you want, you could subscribe to that. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your day. Have a good weekend. Ciao for now.